Hi, God bless you. Thank you for joining me on Living Life con Dios. And if you haven't noticed, you might hear some English and some Spanish in this video because I'm Mexican and that's just how we go. I wanted to share with you in these videos. I want to share testimonies. I want to share what God puts in my heart for other people. If you feel like you are alone and you have no one else, just remember that you could be doing life con Dios. I want to start out this episode with giving you a testimony where I was able to experience God as a God of justice. So we know that God can manifest himself in different ways. Well, in this occasion for me, he manifested as the God of justice. So if we read on Isaiah 30:18, it says, "Therefore the Lord will wait that he may be gracious to you, and therefore he will be exalted that he may have mercy on you. For the Lord is a God of justice. Blessed are all those who wait for him." This testimony, maybe some of you guys that know me close, that are close to me, maybe you've seen videos on Facebook that I posted it's probably been a few years or so. I had a situation with our neighbor. The last time he actually, this was probably 1 a.m, and I think he was probably on drugs or something was going on with him, but he did break into our home. He broke our window and he said he was going to try and kill us. My husband was able to fight him off. And the whole situation, we don't really understand what's going on in his head because we know that there are some mental health issues that he may have. But I want to tell you how I felt through this all, because it was a really hard process that I went through, that my whole family went through, because I thought nothing was going to come out of it, because it felt like an injustice was being done on us, because we had tried to go through the justice side. We had gotten a protection order and this protection order was violated. But it started out with this man, like I said, he broke into our house, and we had been told before, because it wasn't the first time, we had been told before that we needed video proof. Well, we got them some video proof, but that was not enough, because he was in his house and they couldn't just go barge into his house and take him to jail, because I guess that's just not how the system works. I understand, I respect the police officers, I really do. But it did feel like there was an injustice going on. And I cried out to God, because in reality, I felt alone. I felt like I had no other help. That day, my husband, it was 1 a.m, and my husband fought this guy. My dad fought this guy, and we called the police and we said, hey, this man violated a protection order that is all on all my children plus me and my husband, so they come out, and this guy ends up going back to his house. And we were like, well, what do we do? Right? Well, they didn't arrest him. All they told us was, hey, if he comes out of his house, give us a call. And we're like, so you mean he could come into our house and try and kill us, and you guys can't do anything about it? You guys can't go and arrest him? And they didn't. They didn't arrest him. So we had to actually leave our home because my kids were scared. You know, my kids were frightened that day. And I remember they were in their room, and I went to go check on them after this all happened. And they were scared. They were crying. And even though inside of me I had a lot of anger, a lot of hate, I opened up the Bible and I went to Psalm 23. And I started reading that to them. And I said, don't worry, God's going to fix this. I don't know how, but God's going to fix this. This man, I don't know what's going on in his head, but I know that God's going to do something about this. And, you know, it got to the point where my kids were not safe. They didn't feel safe. They were like, hey, Mom, you know, if we weren't preparing them for what if a fire happened, you know? No, it was what if the neighbor came in and we weren't here and maybe you guys were in the backyard, you guys could run to the garage, right? We were preparing them for the worst with this neighbor. So we ended up having to move in with my parents for like a week. But in this course, I cried out to God. And I was mad at God. Maybe not that mad, but kind of. I was like, God, why is this going on? Why am I going through this? Why are my children going through this? I feel like those Israelites that were kicked out of their land. And then I was reminded, I was like, okay, I should probably go to Psalms because I know someone else that was running for his life, and that was David. And I said, okay, well, let me see what David said while he was running for his life, because that's what I felt like I was doing. And a few days into it, God gives me Psalms 18. And he gave me Psalm 18:48. And he says, he delivers me from my enemies. You also lift me up above those who rise against me. You have delivered me from the violent man. I knew that he was going to do something. And everyone kept saying, if I was you, I would have used my self-protection. And I said, okay, I don't want to kill someone. That's not what I want to do. I just want this guy to leave me alone. But deep inside of me, I was like, I'm going to do anything in my power to protect my children and to protect myself and to protect my husband. And I'm pretty sure my husband was on the same page as me. Yet God was telling me, wait patiently, I will do it. And I said, we have tried every single way to get this done. So I said, I know what's going to work. I'm going to go on a 7-day fast. I'm going to not eat until 4 p.m. 2 days into it, it was easy. And after that, it was hard because when everyone else is eating breakfast and lunch, let me tell you, that's pretty hard. But I said, no, I can't give this up because I know that God's going to do something. And he already said it in his word. He says that he will deliver me from the violent man. And the most amazing thing happened. You know, I was looking, you know, we had gone, I think, 2 weeks, and he was still out there. You know, I get police officers are short-handed, you know, because we would call it when he was outside and they wouldn't come until an hour later. I get it. But we decided, we're like, okay, you know what? We're going to put a fence in our front yard. that's what's gonna happen. We're just gonna put a fence and we can lock it up every single night, because there's no way I could, sell this house. Well, we had gotten a few quotes on fencing companies, and this man, the last fencing company that I asked to come and give me a quote, I took one of my sons. And if you know my son, Andres, you know that he speaks his mind and he will not hide anything. And I'm thankful that he spoke up at this time. But this man, he asked me, he's like, so why are you gonna put a fence up here? And I said, well, and then my 8-year-old just decided to blurt it all out and say, this man over there wants to kill us, so we need something to protect us. And the guy said, the owner of this fencing company said, hey, I am a sheriff's deputy. I'm gonna look into it. And I said, okay. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna look into it because you should not be living this way. And I said, okay, we found someone that could help us. Thank you, God. So this deputy ends up giving me a call, and he says, this guy, he does have a warrant for his arrest. So I'm going to put one of my deputies to make sure that he gets arrested. And I think it didn't even pass 2 days later that he got arrested. And he was put into jail. And I was like, oh my gosh, I felt like a relief, like I could finally go to my house. And I went into my house, and then I said, okay, what's going to happen next? God, what else are you going to do? Because I'm waiting on you. Everything I've tried on my own doesn't work. And I don't want to go the route that everyone keeps telling me to go through. What is the route that you're going to take me through? This guy, we end up having to go face him. I have to go speak in front of the court and tell them everything that this guy has done. He's in jail, and I go and I speak to the court, and I tell them everything that happened. And they're waiting on the day that they're going to do his court. And he's trying to do some kind of plea deal with the people. The plea deal, eventually the plea deal was that he was going to be on probation for 2 years. He could not be anywhere near our home or even his house. He had to live with some family members. And I was like, okay, well, I don't care what happens to this guy. I just want him to leave us alone. That's it. Just leave us alone. And we end up accepting the deal, and we said, okay, if he will just leave us alone, I don't care what happens to him, if he was going to be on probation. I get a text message. I remember the day that he was released from jail. I was praying, and God again takes me to Psalm 18. And it's the same one. 48, and he says, you have delivered me from the violent man. And when I read that, and when I'm praying, I'm like, God, what's going on? Why are you giving this to me again? That same day, I get a text message saying that he's been released from jail. And the next day, I see the police officers outside looking through his house, and then they come to my house and they're like, hey, if you see this man, give us a call because he violated his probation. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, he's supposed to have an ankle monitor. Like, what are they going to do? Right? And so then I tell myself, I say, okay, you know what, God? I'm going to go on another fast. Because if you did the first one, I know that you're going to do something else. But then he reminds me, he's like, but I've already done it. You don't have to keep on going on these fasts because I've already done it. And the next day he gets arrested, and again he gets bailed out, and he's on the streets until the second time. I think he didn't even make it a whole week, and he violated his probation, and he's back in jail. And currently he is in jail, and we have been delivered from this violent man. I don't know what God's going to do with him in jail. I'll leave that up to God. But I know that if you are going through an injustice, you can call out to God and he will answer you. We try to do this all on our own, and it doesn't work. It might work for a little bit, but if you want to see the end results, you got to learn how to live life con Dios. And every day I am able to ask, when my kids have a little bit of doubt of what God's going to do, I could remind them, and I tell them, do you remember when God delivered us? And each time I ask them this, they say, yes, I remember you. I remember that God delivered us from our neighbor. Sorry, guys, that's my 3-year-old in the back. Thank you for listening to this testimony, and I hope it touches you, and I hope you're able to cry out to God, and you're able to ask for his help, knowing that you are not alone in the situation that you are going through. Because he is waiting for you to ask for his help. He is waiting for you to cry out. And I hope this touches you. And I hope and pray that if you need any prayer, if you need a word from God, first of all, you could go to his word. You can go to any kind of translation you might understand. It doesn't need to be the King James Version. It doesn't need to be the Reina Valera. You can go into the New Living Translation. There's even like an English version that's super simple. But if you go to his word, trust me, you will receive a word. And if you keep speaking that word, it will come into existence. I believe the word that he gave me. I believe that he would deliver me from this man. I could have gone the route that everyone else wanted me to do. Everyone else wanted me to go to the store and go buy a gun. That was not an option for me. I'm not against anyone that has one to defend their family. I am not. But I said, I know a God that if I cry out, he will hear my voice. I told him, I am your daughter. Why am I going through this? And he delivered me. He can deliver you. Thank you for listening to this, and I hope you will stick around. And if you would like to subscribe, because my kids would think it would be cool if I had more than one follower, you could like it, you could share it. I could show my kids that I have more than one subscriber. Thank you. Have a blessed day. God bless you.